Hi, so in today's video, I just um, want to add more information on a video that I previously made, which I thought was very important to take note of in retrospect when one comes to looking at where things could have gone wrong as they're building up to their goals, as they're building up to personal and financial success. And so I'm going back a little bit more into my history, my background, family background, and it's quite personal stuff. And um, I find it, of course, due to the emotional connection, and not something that I feel so entertained to talk about, but uh, I realize that it's only by talking about things that you may be scared to even share that you find the actual gems and diamonds and precious kind of information from your past, from your background, and that's one thing I would like to encourage to anyone watching this, that uh, you're going to learn a lot of stuff from your past, and learning from your past is a very important aspect of life that actually determines your future success. And so uh, in the last video where I was talking about where did it go wrong, who messed up, where was the ball dropped, when and where was the ball dropped. I talked more about myself, and in this video, I'm reflecting more on my parents and their journey, and specifically on basically the part of their journey that I'm more familiar with, probably from the time I was born. I think that would be more relevant. Of I haven't gotten so many details about before I was born, and so I want to start with basically looking at my father and his journey, and how he may have planned out his life and his goals, and uh, what I learned from him and what I think can be done differently from him. So um, I was born in 1991. My father was a clinical officer who had trained in uh, in Lusaka, Zambia, at Chainama and UTH, and those university teaching hospitals and college, respectively. And at the time I was born, I think was a time prior or just during a time when he was out of the country, uh, Addis, Zambia. He was in Japan for some further training in his field, and so having come back, I think at the time I was born or just after I was born, um, he went on to work, of course, for the government. But a very interesting thing about him is, I think he was somebody who was trying to start something for himself, and so we lived part of our lives with him working for the government. In fact, the whole substantial part of from the time I was born till the time he died was through a period in which he worked for the government. But then, just after he had come from Japan, he, I think, had a period of settling down and uh, came into working for the government or working for some NGOs, an NGO called Cheshire Homes, and fast forward a little bit, he attempted now to actually start his own medical practice, and called Kamwala Medical Clinic. And from that, I think I learned that I learned how important it was to start something for yourself and try and follow your dream. And I think he was individually following his dream. But I think where the ball could have dropped and where he might not have had the privilege to come across the information that I have now is that the medical practice he had started in one way or another was a what do they call those kind of companies? He was more self-employed than in a limited kind of company or a corporation, and so the business model that really doesn't work well if you're not around. And so he started that, and due to one or so reasons that I don't know, that medical clinic got closed. I don't know if he had a split with his partners or something along those lines, and of course finances could have played a role. And so though later on he went on to form another medical practice which was called Trinity Clinic, and from there working with my mom, who was also a trained nurse, and also prior to the time she died, also a trained pharmacist, and working with other medical doctors that were his friends and partners in that business. Again, he created a self-employed kind of structure for that business, and after he got quite sick, it became a bit problematic for him to run it. He became sick, and also after my mother's passing, I think he would lean on her a lot for running of that business. And so a lot of what I saw during that period maybe learn something that it is important actually to come up with a business that is well secured even after you're gone, something that those after you can inherit. And so I learned from there that actually there were weaknesses in the way the business was structured. But I learned some things that I found also very interesting, because at that time he would work for both the government and his practice, and he, having been sick, he would be on sick leave, but he would still work at his practice. He could still be mobile, and he wasn't. The nature of his sickness could allow him to do that. And so it came to a time when the business was, I think, at its peak, and he would have his own schedule of what time he could go to work, and some of the freedom that entrepreneurship brings to somebody. I saw that and learned from that, and realized how much freedom you can get from entrepreneurship. And so having grown up seeing that, that's one thing that I admired. And so the information that he might have needed to actually make that business lasting success even beyond him is information that when I analyze in my own mind, I find maybe due to emotional attachment, I think I make excuses for him. I say things to myself like, the country was backward at that time, and the information for entrepreneur success was not readily available. But when I think critically, I say, well, it's the time you live in is always a backward time to the time that in the future. And if I was to look at it from the perspective of my children, I have two children, a girl and a boy. The girl is older and the boy is younger. And so if I was to look at it from that perspective of my children, I wouldn't like them to look at my journey and make excuses for me and say, Dad didn't do this because at that time it was hard, because it's the time I'm living in, and for me it's simpler than times before me, and I don't expect it, and I shouldn't expect it to be as simple as the future. And so I need to work with what I have. And so I'm looking at that kind of angle, and I think, well, I shouldn't be making excuses for them, because at that time too, there were people who made strides in business and business success that didn't collapse. So I think it was a lack of also knowing that he needed more information. Also a lack of knowing what was the right information, and it's important to know that you need more information. It's important to know what is the correct or important information for what you're trying to achieve. And at this point in my life, I've come to know, I think, the information that I need, collect some of the information, and in my choosing of the information that I need, I think due to the abundance of the information age, I select those people who have done what I am trying to do, and see from the internet, from various medias, how they did it, learn from their books, and also information about them elsewhere on social media and any other platform, and kind of work with that, with knowing and knowledge that that's the information that I actually need. So you need to sieve through your mind and know where you're trying to go and the information that you need to get there. And so it's very critical part, and I think that's where the ball might have dropped during the journey with my parents. And well, this video is not a blame game, and I would like that to be clear. And if, say, I was talking to my children, definitely your success depends on yourself. You get the cards that you're given. Life puts you on a chessboard. That's the board you're going to play on. You get the board that you get with the pieces that are around you, and it's up to you to